Welcome into the Bitcoin Made Simple podcast. I'm your host, Corey Tusick. On this week's Friday Top 5, I will talk to you about the top 5 reasons that governments need Bitcoin. All governments need Bitcoin. Before I get into that, I'm going to talk to you about the Bitbox O2 hardware wallet. You are going to want to go to bitbox.swiss/Bitcoin Made Simple. Use promo code Bitcoin Made Simple to get 5% off of your order. It is the easiest, most simple to use hardware wallet. Here it is. It's about this size. You can use it with your cell phone, whether it's iPhone or Android. You can also use it. Actually, the iPhone is coming soon, not rolled out yet, but it will be. And you just plug it right in. Boom. There you go. It's really easy to use touchscreen. I love it. So get yourself a Bitbox. And then also sponsored by Barefoot Mining. Go to barefootmining.com. They're looking for like-minded investors and Bitcoin miners and energy providers because they want to help secure the Bitcoin network. And if you want to help, you can join them. Go to barefootmining.com or follow them on X. It's at Barefoot Mining. All right. So the top 5 reasons, going from 5 down to 1, of the reasons that governments need Bitcoin. Okay. So number 5, because it hit 123,000 freaking dollars this week. That's why. And it's only going up from here. Don't get me wrong. It can go down. It can go up. It can go sideways. We never know. But point being is that it can go somewhere and it's probably going to go up in the long run. And governments have been around for a while. So I think if they're playing the long game, which they should be, then it's going to be here and it's going to go up by the time they would need it. So that is the first reason. Reason number 4. Because their voting base is increasingly becoming Bitcoiners. Now, I know there's a lot of people that use the shart coins out there. And that's okay. They'll learn eventually that Bitcoin is the only way. But their voting base is becoming more and more of a Bitcoin voting base. People are at least familiar with it. People are talking about it. People are using it. So, I mean, in the US, there was a thing this past week saying that the government was going to do some kind of, I think they were doing some form of a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Nothing to get too excited over, but like they're talking about it. They're talking about Bitcoin. They're also, I believe, Trump got rid of capital gains tax on using your Bitcoin, so that's another win. But what this tells you and what this tells me is that, by the way, none of this is financial advice, but what this tells you is that they're paying attention and they're realizing, oh, this is becoming more and more popular. I mean, it's kind of like the internet when the internet came around. If governments ignored the internet and pretended like it didn't exist and tried to ban it and regulate it, I think their voting base by like 1997 would have been like, what are you doing? Like, get with the times. So governments need it for that reason. Another reason that governments need it, number 3 on the list, will be because most governments are not the United States. Now, the United States has its own problems, but if you're a small little country, if you're trying to get a foothold in the world financially, which kind of like what you saw El Salvador do, even though that maybe worked out to varying degrees for them. Let's just put it this way: if they got into if a struggling country who was pretty poor got into Bitcoin in 2010, which obviously what country would have done that? They'd be fine right now. So if you're a country and you're thinking the long game and you're looking ahead, what I would do is look ahead to the next 30 years and think to yourself, where could we be in 30 years if we just started stockpiling Bitcoin as much as we can afford? Like you as a person should do, governments should do that too. Governments should also get a Bitbox O2 hardware wallet. Put it right on this bad boy. The number 2 reason that governments need Bitcoin is because their debt is out of control. Absolutely out of control. I don't even know let me go to US debt clock. US debt clock. I mean, it's the US debt clock shows in real time that right now the US national debt is 37. That's million, that's billion, that's trillion. $37 trillion. That's insane. So if they started stockpiling Bitcoin, and other governments are in debt too, so it's not just the US, start stockpiling and let the appreciation of the asset absolutely play into your favor. Some people suggest that some governments are stockpiling but don't want to announce it because it would then set off a price run. Um, I don't know. That's a that's very possible. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm just saying it's possible. So what are you as a Bitcoiner doing to compensate for it? What are you doing to prepare for a world where governments around you, the world, I mean, let's just say you're 30 years old, okay? So in 50 years, do you think, let's just say you're 80, 40, in 35, 40 years, whenever you're retired, do you think governments will be pretty universally using Bitcoin? Yeah. Okay. Well, in that scenario, you should probably put all of your retirement into Bitcoin. Not financial advice, but just something to think about. Food for thought. And the number one reason that governments need Bitcoin is because it makes you not need them. That's why. The more their populace is into Bitcoin before them, the less they control it, the less reliant on them you are. Bitcoin is about freedom. And I want freedom for everybody. I don't just want it for one group of people. So this is freedom around the world. Bitcoin gives you that. I think governments are smart enough to know that. And I think that's why they're doing this. I think that's why you're seeing more government adoption, more governments talking about it. So, as always, buy as much Bitcoin as you can afford, be responsible, don't take out debt for it. But in the meantime, get yourself a Bitbox O2 hardware wallet, and I will talk to you next week.